everyone. Thanks so much for joining me for this week's episode of When I Grew Up. On today's episode, it is my pleasure to welcome my guest, Dr. Mike Ho. Hey, Mike, how are you? Or should I call you doctor? I should call you doctor.
No, like Dr. Mike is cool. Like Michael's fine either way. No, thanks so much for having me. And it's a great opportunity and pleasure to speak with you about this. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Well, I was just telling Mike, just because it's more friendly. The reason I feel
Yeah.
bad is because like I know you worked hard for that, that title.
Look, like let's talk. Like it's not even about like ego. Like you know what I mean. Like we all know that I'm a chiropractor. Just refer to me. Mike is fine. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, I was just telling Mike that, so Mike is a chiropractor, like he just said, and I'm excited to hear about his journey, how he became a chiropractor, even like what the schooling is like, because I don't really know. But I was
Sure.
explaining, like most of my listeners probably already know about me. I grew up as a competitive figure skater. And y'all, chiropractors like practically saved my life, like my body. I don't think I'd be I mean, honestly, I do have like which I'll probably come see you at some point since you're down the street,
Yeah.
but I do realize I do live with just pain in my back that I've kind of
Wow.
it's dulled over time. And I just think it's just like, oh, this is just the way I live, And then like
Mm-hmm.
I had two babies too. So like
Wow.
I think it's just like, oh, this is just my body, but I'm sure if I come to you or somebody else, like I'm sure you'll fix me up right away. Do you feel that
For
way
sure.
as I'm explaining it to you?
No, absolutely. I mean, like the thing is that like at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Mhm.
So, a lot of like my patients, like for example, today, like we're going over the exam, and he's like, well, like kind of what you said, like I'm always in pain, and I've kind of normalized it, and like
Mhm.
like the questions that you're asking me, I don't really know how to properly ask it because it's like I've been so used to feeling this way,
Wow.
right? But what I like to explain to them is like, you've heard of like the myths or whatever, like oh once you go to the chiropractor you have to like keep going, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But the fact of the matter is like if you compare like anything else, right? Say the dentist, right? Say you don't take care of your teeth, you smoke a lot of cigarettes, and you eat a lot of sweets, right? You go to the dentist, you have okay, we took X-rays, we have six cavities, and we have two possible root canals, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And like the thing is that like if you were to ask that person, right, like would you wait to get to that point to go to the dentist, right? The answer is like
Mm.
no, right? Why do you brush your teeth every day? Why do you maintain, anything, right? In that regard. So, like I like to explain to my patients that it's like chiropractic is so um slept on in the way, and it's
Mm.
up to me to educate because like the spine and the nervous system, like you can't visibly see it, right? Like you feel
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
but we do a full thorough exam, we take full x-rays, we do a full explanation. I really enjoy educating my patients, and it's more about like wellness and preventative care instead of like
Yeah.
sick care,
Okay.
you know
Mhm.
does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. It makes
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And I think as I'm getting older, my body's getting older, and as my parents are getting older, I've really been more about preventative care. But I will
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
say, I would argue that as Asian Americans, preventative care is not like the cultural standard, right? Like we wait
Yes.
till the last minute to go to the doctor. So like,
1,000%, like that's pretty spot on, like for
mm,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
um it's funny like you say that because like so I was born in New York, my dad was born in New York, and my
Mhm.
grandfather was born in New York, so I'm like third generation
Your
born here.
grandfather?
Yeah, so like my grandfather who's my on my arm, he passed away, but it's like
Oh,
my
I'm
dad's
sorry.
dad. No. So but he like so my great grandfather stowed away on a boat from China in 1919 and got sent back like three times. And on the fourth time, they sent him to like England. So he was in the restaurant business, and like he, lived there, I believe, for like about a year, saved up money, and then eventually made his way to Ellis Island in New York. And then that's like, so like my dad grew up like only Asian kid, like grew up with like Italians and Jews, and like so did my grandpa. My grandpa grew up in Manhattan, Chinatown, like back in the 30s.
That's
So
crazy.
and my mom was born in Korea. She was born in Seoul, but her blood, like my blood is like bloodline's Chinese,
Okay.
but she speaks Korean, Chinese, and English. So I like, had like a big, if you know Atlanta, there's like huge Korean influence.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up with a lot of like Korean people, and yeah. So like it's immigrant wise, like my mom was like super like kind of like what you're saying, like wait till the last minute,
Yeah.
like everything, here drink this soup or put on this tiger balm, like
Right. Right.
and then my dad is more like the like he's American. He's like he
Mhm.
sounds just like me. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Wow, that's pretty cool though. The third gen. I mean, my story is not the same, but my parents immigrated here. Both of them immigrated here in middle school. So
Oh, okay.
I grew up speaking English in my house.
Mm.
They speak fluent Korean too, but it's just actually I would say it's almost like weird if my dad speaks Korean to me. Like it's like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're pretty American too, but that like third gen is like that's
It's
like your dad's like American.
yeah, like he's super American, and he's Cantonese, and like my mom's like Shandong, so like like jjajangmyeon and like
Oh
jjampong,
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, so like I forget there's like a term, but like that's technically like the Chinese Korean that like my
Okay.
mom's side is. Yeah, yeah.
That make that's funny because earlier I was just thinking right now because earlier before we started recording, you're like, oh, I recognized a lot of like my hyungs or hyungs
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I know. I'm like, oh, I thought he was Chinese, like,
Right.
but I guess that makes sense now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so, Mike, what does a typical day for a chiropractor look like? I don't, and if you do you have your own practice?
I do, I do. So
Okay.
my dad is the OG. He's been a chiropractor for 35 years, and I work with him. So it's our practice. So I grew up like a chiro kid. Like I'm kind of like a
Mm,
freak in that way. So I've been under care like my entire life.
wow.
And I was never forced, like I was never, like led that direction. And we'll get into that, I'm sure, a little bit deeper. But the typical day is like pretty chill. So let's just say today, Monday, I have to be there at 9. So my Google calendars, I have all my appointments like pre-booked, and whether they're a new patient or the second visit, we do something called an ROF. It's called report of findings. So that's where we like really dig deep and dive into the X-ray findings and patient education, and where you're at structurally compared to what normal is, and why you're having these issues and what we can do and what your goals are, right? And then, we also have two massage therapists in our office.
Mhm, mhm.
So my dad has, his clients, I have my patients. And then how it works is like, so one of my massage therapists, both of them are really, really amazing buddies of mine as well. But well, one is focused on more like stretch therapy, which
Mm.
is, he is the best of the best, best hands, very like non-traditional massage. It's like an own experience on its own. And then James is he's more of like the traditional Chinese medicine. So he does like the cupping, the acupuncture, the energy work. So it's like really cool. So people, they have their own niche and clientele. And so typically like a patient will come in, they'll get worked on by them for about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on, their wants and needs. And
Mhm.
then they'll get adjusted by me. So it's pretty cool. And so it's 9, and then, I'm there till about like 5 or 6. Really depending on the day, but
Mhm.
it's really enjoyable work, and the day flies by, but I love it. So
So, like, pretty much all like, you're just doing adjustments after adjustments? Like
so like there's some chiropractors that are super like high volume, right?
uh-huh.
There's also chiropractors that are like, mainly personal injury, right? So
Okay.
we're our office is like, honestly, it's like it's kind of like a destination. It's like um we really get spend the time to like get to know our patients, like we know
Mm.
their families. We're like, because like it's funny because I have a lot of people who like have gone to the joint or the $20 chiropractor, or
Mhm,
like
mhm.
got in a car
On the
accident, and
joint, yes.
the chiropractor never even like adjusted them, right? Just put them on machines, and like they come into
Mm.
my office, and it's just like, wow, like this is like nothing how I experienced like my first,
Wow.
like,
Wow.
my past chiropractor like didn't even touch me, and he just in and out like 3 minutes, and like my office is not like that. So I'm a big like quality over quantity person. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like one. If, obviously, if I ever get to the point, and I will, where I'm fully booked, right? I mean, yeah, like that's fine, But as of right now, I like to space out my appointments where it's like I could actually like speak to my patient. I could,
Yeah.
talk about what's going on and like how they're feeling and how they're responding to care. And it's really like one on one, and that's where we're at right now. So
Yeah, absolutely.
uh
No, I mean, like, I
yeah.
find so much value in that, and like I'm sure it's true. I'm sure your clients too, they find so much value in you seeing them as a whole person rather than just an adjustment, and that's really cool, Mike. I'm curious, and you did highlight kind of the massage therapist part. Could
Yes.
you? I mean, I guess it could be obvious to some, but like, why
Yeah.
does that go hand in hand with chiropractic care?
Yes. Great question. And like, I'm gonna say this, like, I have friends that are like MDs, I have friends that are pharmacists,
Hmm.
PTs, right? And like, let's be honest, like in that field, everyone's like, oh, like, why would you go to a chiropractor? Or like vice versa, like PTs are like,
I'm not gonna lie, I've heard that. Yes.
yeah, and honestly, it's like, like there's no reason for that because at the end of the day, we all have our niches, we all have our specialties,
Yeah.
right? And like, one isn't always better than the other. However, like you come to my office with a broken arm, with oozing blood, right? Go to the ER. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain instances where people tend to just ego comes in and money and business, and that's not how it
Sure.
should be. But massage therapy, like even for me, like I kind of like overlooked it until I met them and I started getting like I'm their patient, and they're
Yeah.
my patient. So them working on me, like not only do I feel better, right? Like I'm a competitive powerlifter, so I
You
grew up playing
are?
basketball. Yeah, I used to. Well,
Yeah, we're gonna have to
I
talk
can.
about that in a minute. But
Yeah. So I lift a lot of weights. Like obviously, like I've been injured. Like my muscles are super tight. I get worked on by them, and I go hit the gym. And obviously, like luckily, my dad's a chiropractor, so not only do I get worked on by them, but I get adjusted often. So I feel good, and it's really made a huge difference in my life in regards to just like wellness and like just the value of how I feel in the gym. At work, on my days
yeah.
off. So
Yeah.
no, massage therapy, there's a time and a place, because if the reason why the muscle, tends to tighten up, say you have a tight low back or like tight traps, right? Or neck
Okay.
pain. Obviously, like if you come see me, like we'll totally address that, but wouldn't you say it would help if, someone really, really took the time and detail to break that muscle tissue down, right? Because like say you're 34, right? It took you 34 years to get to where you're at, right? It's not
Mhm.
going to take one visit. It's not going to, it's called a working solution. It takes time, and I think that's one thing I'd like to tell my patients is, like it's about like, it's about wellness as a whole. It's not
Mhm.
about like, oh yeah, is it one visit or like I do feel better, but I'm not 100%. It's like, yeah, like you haven't taken care of yourself for 40 years. You've been having a
Right.
low back pain for 20 years. Like I'm not a magician, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And it goes both ways, like there's exercises and things that they can be proactive about. If they've
Ah,
never stretched in their life, like obviously that's maybe something we should implement.
yeah.
So yeah, lots of different aspects of care, but
Oh, that makes sense, that makes sense. So, but
yeah.
I guess what I am curious about is, does the massage therapy help in like kind of like with the adjustment itself, or does that
Yeah,
make sense?
so yeah. So like say like I'm working on you and I'm like, wow, like Blair, like your low back is super tight. And you're like, wow, it's really tender, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Oh,
like
okay.
with them like breaking down the muscle and them like, loosening you up or stretching you or improving your range of motion or activating weak muscles or strengthening weak muscles, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So by the time like those patients get worked on, whether it be, 10, 15, 30 minutes, by the time they hit my table, right? They're super supple. Their spine is supple. Their muscles are supple. So then, with a supple spine, I could better deliver the adjustment. Right. I
I
mean,
see.
if you have a tight low back, obviously, like I could, I'll probably move. I'll definitely move something. But I think the quality of the movement
Uh-huh.
and the more you can relax in regards to, because sometimes like people don't even know how to relax. They're so
Right,
used to
right.
just being tense.
Right.
You know, so it's like I'm like, hey, like relax, and they're just like, I am. So it's like once they actually are, um and their muscles are like much more relaxed, I can much better do my job. So that's how it goes hand in hand,
That
I
makes sense,
guess.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so could you take me back to the beginning for you? Like, I mean, I know
Yeah.
that you did say you and your dad are in the practice together.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I guess I can assume that, you got your influence from your dad, but at what point in your life were you like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So growing up in Alpharetta, right? Like my dad always had a chiropractic table in the house, you know. So
That
growing
really
up,
sounds like a dream to me, honestly. I would love that. I feel like
it, and you know, it's funny. Like I'm gonna get deeper into that, but like
okay.
as a kid, yeah, I always used to get injured. I played a lot of basketball. I always used to roll my ankles. I was a super active kid. Got into weightlifting, right? But as any kid, like you sleep the wrong way, you hurt your neck, like you get
Mm,
injured. My like whole life, whenever I was hurt, right, I get to go home and I'd say, "Hey, Dad, like, can you adjust me?" Or like, "My low back doesn't feel right," or like, "My neck doesn't feel right," and he'd be like, "All right, hop on the table."
mm,
I remember like me coming home like super late, and hanging out with my buddies, and I was probably down the street like at my friend's house, maybe say like I'm 12 or 13 years old. I'm in my pajamas. I'm like, "Dad," like, and he's on the couch, like, he had his long day, and I'm like, "Can
yeah.
you adjust me?" And he's like, really, like right now? I'm like, come on, like, so like I just remember like him taking care of me, and like how much better like I felt, and how much quicker I would recover compared to like a lot of my friends who did the same thing as me,
Oh, wow.
so I just always remember like being like, wow, like one day when I have a family, I want to be able to like take care of them as well, because the thing about chiropractic is obviously there's like different modalities, there's different instruments you can use, right? But all you need are your hands, so, and a table. So it really changed my life in regards to just like how what my view on health is. And
Mm,
like my dad never would push me like the typical Asian parents, like to be a doctor, to follow his footsteps. Like never. He never made me go to any seminars or like was ever pushy. I think maybe around like 12 or 13, I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor.
oh, wow.
So, yeah, and as I got older, I got into weightlifting, and that's where everything really molded, because like chiropractic, it was a game changer for me, because it's just, with weightlifting and squatting and deadlifting and benching, like what comes with that, like injury,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
Technique, and it goes hand in hand. So around that age, I was for sure like I want to be a doctor of chiropractic, and yeah, so I was supposed to go to Georgia State, but my dad was also a professor at Life University in Marietta, which is the chiropractic school
That's where I
at the
went. I would
time.
go get practiced on by
Yeah.
students. Yeah.
So you're at like were you at the outpatient clinic,
The
or
one in Marietta, yeah. I don't know which one. It's like it's kind of right off the freeway.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. You got the
Yeah.
Waffle House and all that,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Oh my goodness,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's so funny you say that. But yeah, he's like, if you know you want to be a chiropractor, why don't you just like get into life, do your prereqs, get into the doctor of chiropractic program like early,
Mhm.
instead of just but obviously I lost out on like the college life. Like,
Yeah.
like I never dormed or anything. Obviously I found my way to party for
Yeah.
sure. I did, but
Naturally,
no,
yes.
so yeah, so that's kind of, I always knew.
Okay, okay. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, okay, so you're saying not everybody goes straight into chiropractic school, is what you're do a lot of people get their bachelor's first or
Yes. So for sure, I mean, I got my bachelor's in exercise science.
uh-huh.
So like obviously like the prereqs, I had to take my, your bio 1, bio 2, chem 1, chem 2,
Okay.
organic chem, physics, all that. And then once you're in the chiropractic program after you have your degree,
Uh-huh.
it's a whole other 4 years of
Okay.
school. So yeah, yeah. And yeah, I mean we're it's a lot of hours, a lot of education.
Mm,
We have the most education in regards to like plain film and x-rays, reading, evaluating, plain film. We know about MRI, CT, when to refer out. So the schooling is pretty intense. Like it is not easy. I want to say like the percentage of people who graduate on time, I
mhm.
think it's like 20%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like it's tough, and it's expensive too. I mean, in any school now, so
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So like before you go to chiropractic school, like is there an entry level like an entry test you have to take or no?
So like kind of like say like the MCAT, right?
Uh-huh.
For MDs. For Chiro school, like no, I mean you could get in the program, but the fact of the matter is like when you're in, like the failure rate is like pretty high.
No way.
You know, so like you don't have to have a bachelor's. But
Uh-huh.
actually, matter of fact, I think you do have to have a bachelor's to get in, obviously, but there's not like an entry exam like you know, to get in. No.
Okay. Okay. Um, as you were doing like schooling, was there any point for you that you were like, oh, maybe I made the wrong choice, even though you already knew so early in your life?
No, like never.
Oh.
I'm not gonna lie, like it was tough. Like it was really tough.
Mm.
Especially like the board exam. So there's five parts. There's part one, part two, part three, part four, and then there's PT, physiotherapy. I think the hardest part in that aspect of school were just like the boards. You know, like passing the test and passing your finals and doing the practicals, whether it be like, you know, biochem or physiology or micro, like
Mm-hmm.
all that. No, I never like regretted my decision. Like obviously like school, like it's tough and you get down, but like I always saw the end of the saw the light at the end of the tunnel. So
Yeah.
and I had a really good support system in school. Like my dad definitely like technique wise, like
Uh-huh.
super valuable in teaching me like the physical aspect of adjusting and like, like I feel like my dad is like by far the best adjuster and I'm not being biased. Like, he has the best hands. I've been adjusted by so many people.
Yeah.
But in the school wise, he's like, I don't remember this. Like, I can't help you with like
Right.
biochem. Like, I'm not gonna help you with, like this or that. So, but I had a really strong like team. When I say team, like my boys. So like we'd study every day and we'd kind of hold each other accountable. So when I did doubt myself, right, we always kind of had each other's back, and
That's awesome.
yeah, that helped.
Yeah,
That helped a
that's
lot.
good. Okay, so like in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, you looking at Mike, you would make a good chiropractor. You look like you're strong and like,
Appreciate it. Thank
but
you.
but
I appreciate that.
is there anything like that, like physically, like a person that would make a better chiropractor than another person? I don't know if you can say that, but I'm sure there are like strengths and advantages, no? Physically?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, and I don't want to be the one to be like, oh, like if you happen to be a female, like I know so many like great female chiropractors, but
Uh-huh,
like,
uh-huh,
and then same thing, even like guys that who happen to be like, tall and skinny, right?
uh-huh,
I'm like short and like kind of stocky, right?
uh-huh,
But
uh-huh.
strength wise, like, I mean, for sure, like we were the chiropractors for, well, my dad was for the NFL Combine back in the day.
Oh wow.
We've taken care of lots of MMA fighters. We're the chiropractors for not the Atlanta Hawks, but like in it's called the Atlanta Empire. So their first inaugural season was like I believe last year. And like we're working on guys that are like 6'8", huge people, So obviously like in that aspect, like yeah, like strength 1,000% helps,
Okay, it does help. So it's
Is it a
not
requirement?
necessarily
Yeah, yeah. No, but like it helps for sure. Like
okay, okay.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because there's quickness, like adjust the neck. Like the hardest part, I like to. My dad and I, it's like a joke. It's all like cat and mouse. Like you have someone's cervical spine, and say like that patient has never been adjusted. They're kind of freaking out. They're kind of just like they don't know what to expect. But
Right.
that's my responsibility to educate them. And it's like, hey, what we're going to do, I'm contacting this. We're going to be going in this direction. There's no surprises. The reason why you're going to hear that clicking, all that is going to be gas being released from the joint.
Mm,
In the neck region, the reason why it's going to be a little bit louder is because your ears are up there, right?
mm,
So it's just like comforting them, and the better they can relax, the better I can deliver that adjustment. So you know if you don't have like you could be the strongest like person in the world, but if you don't know how to speak to your patients and comfort them and make them feel like relaxed and chill, then that's a whole different aspect
yeah.
of the profession that people
Yeah.
don't talk about.
Oh,
Yeah.
fascinating. I man, Mike, I've seen some of your reels on on
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Instagram.
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys, you have to go check it. It's Chiro Fit, right? With fit with a one, number
Yes,
one.
yes. CHIROF1T, and then the office pages, Chiro for Sports, CHIRO, the number four, and then
Uh-huh.
sports.
Okay,
And that's the
but like
office
you
page.
guys, you have to see these reels.
I
Like
appreciate that greatly.
like he'll adjust and like it's like one person after the other, but like they just like the relief that they feel and the tension they feel right before, like you can feel it through the phone that I watch it.
I really appreciate that. No, like that means a lot. You know, the fact that so social media and like the marketing has always been like something I've truly been passionate about as well.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that people like actually watch my stuff and like are getting like those good vibes, and the good energy, it makes me feel super happy. So,
Yeah, no, I mean,
um,
I trust me,
yeah,
man. It's so I actually don't like social media that much because, like, even with the podcast, I have to like put stuff out, and I'm like, oh, it's like so
yeah,
much work for me. Like, I'm just not
yeah,
wired that way. But yeah, yes, your reels are like so addicting, and I'm like, oh man, like it really, truly, I'm like, you know what, this man is gonna. I should go in. I should go in.
yeah. I got your back, like literally. Yeah,
So funny.
for
But yes,
sure.
anyways, all that to say, yeah, I uh was wondering also, like as a chiropractor, what are some challenges you face? Like, is there anything that I know you like it a lot and you're
Yeah, yeah,
passionate
yeah.
about it, but are there
Mhm.
some things that you don't like about what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the most frustrating thing, I guess, like, is like at the end of the day, like I care for my patients, right? But I'm not gonna care about your health more than you care about your health,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So I think it's like obviously like would I like to heal the world, in a perfect idea, like yes, are there always gonna be non-compliant patients? Are there gonna be patients that don't show up or don't communicate,
mm.
or don't, value what you do? I think like in any profession, right, that would kind of bother you. I don't take that personally, but it's just like I think people kind of lack just like communication skills sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's like if you can't show up, you know what I mean. If you need to reschedule, just like tell me, you know what I mean. Because the thing is, like, if I book an hour with you, and you're supposed to come into the office, we've already spoke about financials, we've already, like answered your questions, and you don't show, right? Like
That's
that's
annoying.
that's that's not, it's not cool. Not only are
Yeah.
you wasting my time, but I could have, seen someone else during that time, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I
Right.
guess in that aspect, like, yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't like that, but let's see. I think it's definitely hard, like working with family at the
Oh,
beginning, with me specific, right?
yeah.
My dad is the OG. He's 61 years old. Super old school. Super great at what he does, but like I'm so similar to him in a lot of aspects as well. Like both of us are pretty stubborn. Both of us kind of just like are very extroverted at times, and I think you know we both love each other. We've come so long. I love my dad, but sometimes like at the beginning, now it's great, but at the beginning it was tough, kind of just like molding together and learning how to work together.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like we used to bump heads all the time.
Sure.
But
I
honestly,
can't
like
even imagine, honestly, because like I think about working with my parents in that capacity, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do that.
it was so rough. Like he's so used to working like by himself.
Mhm.
Like he didn't even have a secretary for like 6 years,
Oh,
and like he used
wow.
to run his business just solo, like just crushing it on his own. And he has his own way of just like bringing clients and all of the old school methods, right? Like having dinner with the doc, or like doing healthcare screenings, or
I see.
being in the yellow pages, right? All that's I have nothing against that, but like I'm very new age,
And
so
times are changing, yeah.
yeah. So like the biggest thing was like my dad like trusting me, and I'm like, Dad, like, because he was struggling at one point, because like not only is he like the greatest doctor in my mind's eye, but it's like not like no one knows about you. Like not enough people know about what you do, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So when I was still in school, I made it a point to help him out. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start marketing for you. Obviously, I can't adjust on camera, legally. I'm not gonna do that, so I started posting stories and documenting his adjustments. And I was, and then I thought, like, okay, if I start building the brand and start showing people about like what we do and what I am going to do, by the
Mhm.
time I do get into practice, I'll already have people there. And that's exactly what I did. So, um, having him trust me with like that,
Yeah.
um, and it's it's crazy like the progress that we have made in the past like 3 years.
Wow.
You know, he's been doing it for 35 years. He's had three different practices up in New York, and then he's fourth is down here. And he was at like the point where like he was just so burnt out and he was just so like tired and he didn't know how to bring in new clientele. And you know, I took it upon myself to be like, look, like I'm gonna bring us back. And you know, here we are, you know. So it's so great about like how social the power of social media in that aspect. But I also agree with you that like I think it's so like um, you know, it's everyone's highlight reel, right? And
Yeah.
that's also not reality.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I love to talk about like the struggles that we went through, and yeah, like I'm super excited for the future, and we're gonna be the best. Like I don't know if it's gonna be a year, I don't know if it's gonna be 5 years, but yeah, we're gonna be on top for sure. Like
Yeah.
I already know it. Yeah.
No, for sure. I think, even just talking to you, it's already so comfortable. And I feel like that's what a lot of people find important in their healthcare providers. And congratulations, Mike. That's awesome. And
I
I think it's
appreciate
really
that.
great that, I mean, I'm tempted to ask though, like, what was the pandemic like for you guys?
Oh, so the pandemic during that time was actually like pretty good because the thing is that like you know obviously we don't want people who have COVID like to be in the office,
Right.
right? You know, obviously, but you know during that time like we really like pushed through and the business was you know not at its greatest, but we made it, you know. And
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing was for me like in 2020 during COVID, my parents actually got divorced.
Oh man, that's tough.
So after like 30 years,
Yeah.
so that was like tough on me. I'm the only child
Sure.
too. So like even for them and like me being in the office with my dad, right? Obviously the energy was a little bit
Right.
off, you know.
Right.
And thankfully now like everything's like so chill. Like we're still a family. Everything's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But definitely some like darker times like during that time like 2020. So it
Oh,
wasn't
that's like
even
an
about like the
additional thing to your
yeah,
family too.
yeah,
That's tough.
yeah. It wasn't even about the business. It was just like the, you know, the whole dynamic of like the family energy, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Man, um, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I was so into your story just now.
No, no, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Oh, okay, I know what I want to ask. So you have to tell me about your like professional weightlifting career a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Like
not professional, but no, I competed. So I started weightlifting when I was 18, like my senior year of high school,
like you
and
just thought it was like cool, or like
well, my
how does one
get into that.
decide that you're gonna do this?
So I was always like super like scrawny. Like I played a lot of basketball growing up. Like
You were
it was
scrawny?
yeah, I was like 130,
I can't even
140. Like
imagine it
I
because
was just freshman year, I was like I was so skinny, like small. And my dad, like he's always been like about like tough love. Like I'm he's my biggest fan, but he's such like a hard ass on me.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And like
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt
no,
you,
no, no,
but,
no.
like, I guess I'm stuck on the scrawny part because like, your dad's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he was also super small growing up too.
Oh,
But
okay, okay, okay. Okay, makes
yeah,
sense.
but
Alright, continue, continue.
no, no, no. But he used to just be like, "Oh, like, you know, you're never gonna be stronger than me, or you're never gonna, you know, do this." And I'm like, "All right, like, we'll see about that," you know. So like, I kind of like use that like his tough love, and I rechanneled it into just like, you know, I took my anger out on the weights in that way, and like blowing off steam in that sense. And obviously, like as a guy, like in high school, like going into college, you know, you tend guys tend to be like, hey, like let's lift, like let's get big, you know. So no, and then I started lifting, and then years after years, I'm kind of like, wow, like you know, I like this, and I like the progress that I've been making, you know, strength wise, like physically. So I happened to meet my really close friend James, who's also our massage therapist who we work with, and James is a 9-time national champion powerlifting. He's 145. He competes at 145 pounds. He's squatting like 700 pounds. He's deadlifting like 600 plus, and he's bench pressing like four times his body. Like it's not four times, maybe like two and a half, three times his body weight. It's insane. So I used to be a YouTuber back in the day, like 2010.
What?
So so
I'm
I
gonna
used to
go look
like
at
do
those.
I used to like do like supplement reviews and stuff like before like I used to literally reach out to companies like BSN or like Optimum Nutrition or
Uh-huh.
C4 or Cellucor, and I used to like email them and be like, hey, like if you can send me free samples, I can make a review for you, to help you out. And like honestly, I was like, if I stuck with that, I probably could have like done something with it,
Yeah.
if I didn't become a doctor. But no, I was just super like entrepreneurial in that way, and I was never like camera shy. So um, when that happened, I found James through YouTube and I messaged him and I'm like, hey man, like I see you like doing big things. Like I was just curious, like, would you mind like meeting up? Like, could we meet up? And he was super chill about it. And at the time, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this, but he was homeless at the time. So he was living with one of his buddies and they had a gym in the basement and he lived in Winder, Georgia, which is like an hour away. And
Hmm.
he's like, hey, go ahead and pull up, this day. And I have a gym down here. Like, let's lift. And I'm like, sweet. So he literally like took it upon himself and like showed me, proper technique. And I was already super strong. Like I was deadlifting like 500 plus, but
Oh
he,
my
he
gosh.
saw, he saw like the talent in me and he's
Mm.
like, hey, like, well, you need to get on the platform. Like you need to start competing. And I'm like, all right. So he puts me through my first training regimen, like, 12 weeks out. Right. And, I competed my first competition in 2013 and, I won the competition in my weight class. And I also won the best lifters award of the whole entire meet. So it was, I was definitely like a game changer in regards to like confidence and, um,
Yeah,
like
I feel
really
like it would
established.
be after that, it
Yeah.
would feel like kind of addicting. Like, let's do it
Yeah.
again, right?
Yes, yes. So, like 10 years later, here I am, and I haven't competed in between, but I
Uh-huh.
think I'm going to compete this year after 10
Ooh,
years. Yeah, so
that is so
it's pretty exciting.
exciting. That is so
Yeah, yeah.
exciting. Oh man. Okay, well, we're kind of rounding our hour together. And I
Hmm.
usually ask a few kind of final questions to
Yeah,
my
yeah.
guests. And well, we did talk about earlier what you don't like about your job. But what is it that you like about your job? Like what's the for you like your most favorite thing?
Oh, I love being able to help someone in regards to just like making them feel better, having someone to talk to, like being a leader in health and being someone who could, really I guess, teach someone a different aspect of what health is.
Mm,
I love helping my patients. I really enjoy like caring for them and seeing them progress
mhm.
and seeing them like achieve their goals. And like the fact that I'm a part of that, like that's that's what helps me get up every day. So
Yeah, for sure.
no, I just love the doctor patient like connection,
Mhm.
and I just love like dealing with my patients and I love adjusting and yeah, I'm a very people person. So uh I'm a big like energy, like vibes type person too. And I feel like if you put out good energy in the world, like good energy will come back. So that's how I feel like about my office and you know, just how I live my life.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
An additional question came to mind as you were talking, and I'm
yeah, yeah.
curious, like, so do you feel like there are qualities of a person or characteristics of a person that might be advantageous in being a chiropractor? Or like, for example, like say a young person is listening to this, they don't know what to
Yeah.
do with their lives, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, do I have the personality types or traits or like physical act I don't know, whatever,
Hmm, hmm.
to like maybe thrive as a chiropractor?"
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's like, I mean, for example, for me, right? At one point, I was like the weakest person in my mind. Like, at one point in my life, like, I know you kind of mentioned about like school, right? About like, did I ever want to quit? I
Mhm.
mean, there's certain times in my life where like I was super depressed, like, I like fell off, like, you know, I hated myself. Like, I
Mm,
went through so many like, stages in my life that people don't know about.
mm,
And I think like just recently, like this is the happiest I've been mentally,
love it.
healthiest I've been physically, emotionally. So like, um, for anyone who wants to do something or anything in life, it's never going to be like a straight shot, right?
Mm,
But I feel like if you don't get too far off the path in regards to just like who you are,
mm,
and what you do is like your true calling or your true purpose. I feel
mm,
like anyone can do anything if they want.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I could do anything, you
Mm,
know? So I think my advice to anyone who is interested in being a chiropractor, obviously like I would love to have you come by the office and come check it out, come shadow me, come talk to me anytime. Like so many people have helped me in my life when they didn't have to.
mm.
And it's really like built me in becoming just very like humble and having open arms and yeah, so I think like my job is super cool in that way and just like yeah, so anyone can do anything. It
Yeah, that's
doesn't take
awesome.
any yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of answered my last question, and that's I usually put
Uh,
people on the spot. I'm like, so like, if anyone is interested, would you be willing to like for me to put you in contact with them? But you answered that already, and I
yeah.
appreciate your openness and transparency today, Mike. Guys, if you have any questions, it sounds like Mike is really open to chat with you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Just like you reached out to me and I really appreciate it. This has been an awesome experience, an awesome conversation. So
Yeah, I
appreciate
really
it.
thank you so much. For I hope, if you are listening and you're like, yeah, chiropractic care seems something like I could be interested in. Mike is certainly willing to help you out. So please feel free to reach out. You can DM me on social media and I'll get you connected with Mike right away. Or you can email me at podcastwigu@gmail.com. Thanks so much again, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's been a pleasure and look forward to watching the final product. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. All right, guys, until next time. Bye.
Until next time, bye.